Alright, welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about the operators in Python. The first kind of operators we're going to talk about are the arithmetic operators. And the first one of those is the plus operator, which is the addition or the concatenation operator. Addition is, well, the same thing in math. If you say 2 plus 5, it's going to result in 7. And if you say string algo plus string arithme, it's going to give out string algorithmy, which is the concatenation of those two strings. And the same thing with the lists as well. So if you have a list and another list and you want to concatenate them, it's going to give you a list which has the items of both of those lists in it. And the same thing with the tuple. The next operator is the minus operator, which is used for subtraction and also for negative numbers. So if you say 5 minus 2, it's going to say 3. And if you say 2 minus 5, it's going to say minus 3. And it doesn't do anything with the strings or the lists. So you're going to have an error if you use that operator with a list or a string. Then you have the multiplication operator, which is a star. 2 star 5 is, well, 2 times 5, which is 10. And that also works if there's a string or a list on one side of it. So if you say string algorithmy times 2, it's going to give out a string with 2 times algorithmy in it. And the same thing with the list as well. If you say a list times 2, it's going to give out a list with 2 times the items in it. And the same thing with the tuple. The next operator is the division, which is a forward slash. So if you say 5 forward slash 2, it's going to mean 5 divided by 2, which is 2.5. And it's going to give out exactly that. And then you have the percent operator, which is the modulo. Modulo is the rest of division. So 5% 2, it's going to be 1. Because the rest of the division of 5 by 2 is going to be 1. You have 2 times 2, it's 4. And 5 minus 4 is 1. And then there's the 2 star operator, which is used for exponentation. So if you say 2 stars, then 3, it's going to mean 2 to the power of 3, which is going to result in 8. And then there's the 2 forward slashes operator, which is the floor division. And that's just the division without the floating numbers. So if you say 5, 2 slashes, 2, it's going to result in 2 and not 2.5. And if you look at it, this expression right here is going to always be true. So if you say check the equality of A and A divided by B times B plus the rest of division, it's going to always be A. And that checking for A, that 2 equals right there, we're going to get to know that in a minute. And then we have the assignment operators. The assignment operator is only one operator, which is just one equal sign. And we've used it before to assign a value into a variable. For example, we've said A equals 6. Then there is a combination of plus and that equal operator, which is going to mean set A equal to A plus 2. So it's going to get the value of A, which is 6 in this form, and then it's going to increment that by 2, and then it's going to let A be equal to that again. We'll get to that in a minute. But there's also the combination of the assignment operator with all the other operators we've gotten to know up to now. The minus equal, times equal, and divided by equal, modulo equal, and also the power equal. Let's trace this code to see what it does. When we say A equal to 6, it's going to set A equal to 6. And then when we say A plus equal to, it's going to mean increment A by 2. So A is going to be 8. And then we say decrement A by 2 by saying A minus equal to, A is going to be 6 again. And then we're going to say multiply that by 2. It's going to say A equals 12. And then divided by 2, A is going to be 6. And then division by 2 and the floor of it, which is going to be the normal division, A is going to be 3. And then modulo 2, A is going to be 1. And then 1 to the power of 2 is going to be 1 again. Next, we have the comparison operators, which all result in a Boolean. So they're all going to be either true or false. The first one of them checks for equality, and it's just 2 equal operators. So if you say 5 equal 10 divided by 2, it's going to result in true, because 10 divided by 2, as you see it right here, is 5. And that, in fact, is equal to 5. It's going to check for their equality. And if that's okay, if they are equal, it's going to say true. And the equality check for algorithmy with algo and rhythmy is also going to be true, because algo plus rhythmy is going to result in algorithmy, which is the same string as algorithmy. So it's going to result in true as well. The next one checks for inequality, which just looks like that. It's going to check for inequality. So if you say 5 is unequal to 2, it's going to say true. Well, that is true, because 5 is not equal to 2. And if you say algorithmy is not equal to algorithmy with th, it's also going to say true, because those two strings are not the same thing. And then we have the greater than operator, which does exactly what it does in math again. If you say 3 greater than 2, it's going to be true. And if you say 2 greater than 3, it's going to say false. And we have also the less than operator, which is pretty much the same thing. And then there is the greater than or equal to operator, which is pretty much the same thing in math. If you say 3 greater than or equal to 2, it's going to be true, because it is greater than 2. And if you say 3 greater than or equal to 4 minus 1, it's also going to be true, because 4 minus 1 is 3, and 3 is in fact greater than or equal to 3, because it's equal to 3, right? So it's going to be true. And then we have the less than or equal to, which does the same thing, just with less. So it must be either less than or equal to the number, and it's going to result in true. Otherwise, it will say false. So 3 smaller than or equal to 2 is false, because 2 is neither equal to 3 nor greater than 3. So what these operators really do is that for a greater than or equal to b, it's going to say true if a is greater than b or a is equal to b. And for the less than or equal, it's pretty much the same thing, just with less than right in there. Next, we're going to talk about the logical operators, or the Boolean operators. First one is the OR operator, and it gives out true if one or more of these statements are true. So look at this example. We have 3 greater than or equal to 2, or 2 greater than 3. Well, the first one is true, and that's why the whole statement is going to result in true, even though 2 greater than 3 is not true. And now look at this one. Both of these statements are true. 3 is greater than 3 minus 1, and 5 is actually equal to 9 minus 4. Even though both of them are true, it's going to result in true. And then we have the AND operator. The AND operator gives true only if both of these statements are true. For example, if you have 3 greater than or equal to 2 and 2 greater than 3, it's going to result in false, because the first expression is true and the second expression is clearly false. 2 is not greater than 3. And now look at this one. The first one is true and the second one is also true, and that's why the whole thing is going to be true. The last logical operator is not. And it's going to give true if the statement that comes after it is false. And it's going to give out false if the statement that comes after it is true. So it just changes it to the other one, right? So the not of 2 greater than 3 is going to be true, because 2 greater than 3 is false, and the not of false is true. And in the next example, you see 5 is greater than 3, and that's why the not of it is going to be false. And then we have the identity operators, and it checks if two stuff are actually the same thing. Two stuff are the same thing if they have the same data type and value, and those are the stuff that it checks. Okay, and the is not is just a not of is. So always when is true, is not is going to be false, and vice versa. So look at this code, for example. We said a equal to 2, b equal to 4 minus 2, and c equals to 2.0. You see that a is an integer, right? It's 2. And b is also an integer. It's going to result in 2. But c is a float because it's 2.0. Now, if you say A is B, it's going to result in true because A and B have the same data type and also the same value. Both of them are 2 and both of them are integers. So A is B is going to result in true. A is C is going to result in false, even though A equality with C is going to result in true because A and C have the same value but don't have the same data type. That's why the is operator is going to result in false, but the equality will say true. A is not B is going to result in false because, well, as you see in the first line, A actually is B. So the not of true is going to be false. The last kind of operator we're going to talk about is the membership operator. We have one membership operator, and that's in. Not in is just the not of in. Okay? So you can also write everything without not in, but it's good to use that too. So let's take a look at this code to understand what it actually does. We've set A equal to algorithmy, a string, and then B, again a string with algo in it, and C equal to th. And when we say B and A, it's going to check whether or not it can find the value of B in A. It's exactly what it does. So it's pretty much English. It does find it. Algo is the first half of algorithmy, and that's why it's going to result in true. If it says C in A, so find th in A, there is no th in A. There is no th in algorithmy, and that's why it's going to result in false. And if you say C not in A, that's going to result in true because the not of false is true. Let's look at another example. We've set A equal to a list. The list contains 2, a string with algo in it, and 3.2. And 2 in A is going to check whether or not it can find 2 in the list A, right? And it does find it. It's the first one. And it gives out true. Algo in A is going to result in true as well because it's the second one. Algorithmy in A is going to result in false because it can't find it. And those were all the operators that I wanted to cover in this video. This video was pretty boring because it didn't have any live code. There was nothing so interesting going on. It was just some theory. I'll leave you a link down below which gives you a full listing of all the operators in Python. I haven't listed all of them here, but I've covered the most important ones. In the next video, we're going to write a cool program using these operators. These are very important. So I'll see you in the next video.